So this is Mike Migalski with infoVia for part 2 of our demonstration of infoSecur. We're going to get into the actual management of policies and a little bit of the execution of those in this demo. First of all, infoSecur, as you may have remembered from our first session, is a centralized tool to manage your policies across all your data environments and ease your management and enforcement down at the fine-grained layer. So think about managing access to data at the cell level, rows and columns where you can manage access in real time. And it's centralized so that we can use it across the entire enterprise. The way we do this is by mapping users to data through what we call meta-policies. These are policies that are managed with metadata. And we're going to take you into that user interface right now and manage some of these policies. Let me set the stage a little bit. We're going to talk about a bicycle shop. You may be familiar with this shop if you've looked at some data sets that mimic the SolarWinds bicycle shop. But we're going to add a twist to this. Marcus, the manager here, the second person on this list, manages that bicycle shop. But Herb the handler knows that behind the scenes, instead of selling bicycle parts, what they're really selling is superpowers to superheroes. So when someone thinks they're buying a bicycle chain, they might be buying, it might actually be Spider-Man buying web filament, for example, or maybe Superman getting a corner on the kryptonite market. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit of fun with this. Herb the handler, because of his elevated permissions, he's able to see all the regions. He's able to see clear identity, but he doesn't really have any interest in financial data, so we're going to hide that from him. Whereas Marcus, the manager, he can see the West region only because he manages the West region. His identity, the access to the superheroes is masked, and of course, since he is the manager, he cares about financial access. We're going to focus on those two personas first, and then we're going to come back and see what happens if an imposter or a new recruit, Ivan the imposter or Rebecca the recruit, attempts to gain access to the same data. Okay, so here we are out in Snowflake, and first we're going to run the Snowflake data set. And this is a very simple data set. It's got 4 customers in it, and you'll notice their state over here is some states in the West, some in the Midwest, and one in the East. We're going to use those to demonstrate the filtering capability. And then you'll notice that they have names. We're going to mask their names based on the capabilities of the column masking in infoSecur. So with that, I'm going to jump over to the infoSecur user interface, and we're going to show you the execution thereof. So this is the home screen of the infoSecur user interface. It runs on a web server inside the client environment. So we're not taking this data out of the client environment. It's running inside of your on-prem or cloud or hybrid instance of your database. In here, you can see we have users, roles, classes, and categories. We're going to put these together in a way that we can manage who gets to see what. You can see we have Marcus, Herb, and Rebecca defined as users. You can see that Marcus has a role assigned to him that's the West manager. And that role allows him to see the first in characters of the name or the masked name. He's able to see only the Western states, and he has clear access to financial data. So let's see what that looks like if he were to run that, if Marcus was to log in and run his query against the customer data from Snowflake. You can see Marcus, the manager here. We're just running a query in Snowflake, and it tells us exactly what we just saw through the UI. The Marcus does, in fact, have access to the Western states, Colorado and Texas, clear financial data, and masked first name data. So let's run that query as Marcus from Snowflake against that raw data set, and let's see what it returns knowing that Marcus has access as defined. Okay, here we go. Notice that the first name is masking the first name, and it's only filtering by the Western states. So he only sees 3 rows as a result of this query. Okay, well, that's kind of neat, but let's make sure that that is reusable. We're going to use what we call impersonation here, the ability to impersonate another user, which is equivalent of logging out and logging back on as a different user. So now, as Herb the handler, running the same query that Marcus ran, but now as Herb the handler, we see a different set of data. Remember, Herb is able to see all of the Western and Midwest states, plus he is able to see the full set of information. Okay, so he gets to see all of the rows. And then if we run the same query, but this time impersonating Rebecca the recruit, let's go back and look at what Rebecca's policies look like in infoSecur. Rebecca the user, or Rebecca the recruit, sorry, has no roles or classes assigned to her, so she has no policies. So what does that mean? It means when she runs the same query that was run by Marcus and Herb, she sees no results. Well, maybe we want to change that about Rebecca. Maybe we want to give her the access to, she's moving up the chain. So let's give Rebecca access to the Midwest region, say, and let's give her some identity access. Maybe the masked identity access that Marcus saw. Okay, so that would be as simple as adding a new policy to Rebecca that gives her access to the Midwestern states, and another that gives her access to the first 10 characters of the first name. Okay, so now Rebecca has those policies in place. Now if we run the same query for her again, then she should see the Midwestern states, which was just one of them, Nebraska. So she'll see the one customer from Nebraska with masked name. And that demonstrates that Rebecca can, in fact, be granted access in real time, and that there's a polymorphic idea behind this secure view, in that when a user executes a query, it is sensitive to who that user is and what they're allowed to see. In this case, Rebecca sees exactly one user with a masked first name, as the policies suggest. So we took Rebecca from no access to filtered and masked access in just a few clicks of a button. In the next demo, we're going to show you how to enforce these policies. What is the magic behind those views that allows us to these filtered and masked rows? For today, for this session, that will be all. Thank you.